I'm doing swell. I've been running around all day. Got to meet Chow. I had to run, I ran into the city, came back to Brooklyn. Then I went and set up the PS5 for my kid. And I had to go back out to go do pickups and drop-offs because we're in the last leg of production for the show. And I do a lot of my work locally with the old cast where I grew up at. When I first started designing, they have a whole, what do you call that? What do you call when everybody knows everybody? What's that called? I forget. It'll come back to me. Everything that we make is made in New York. Unless it's made in, let's say we have some cats in Dubai that we work with, or we've done some sampling in my mother's country, Dominica, and then we like to do textiles in Nigeria. So we get some things sourced out, but everything's from here, everything's New York. And then I like to, again, keep it in Brooklyn if I can. Sometimes in the city, and then I have a bag maker in Jersey. And I do a lot of the in-house samples myself of the hats because I used to be a hat millinery for like 6 years. So that's why you see all the hats, I used to push them shits out like water. But when I used to work at the shop, I used to make like hundreds of hats a week. We come from a fashion background. My mom's, she designed. She used to actually put us in mad clothes and shit and put us on the runway back in the day when she was like doing her thing. She was really into like a whole bunch of shit, like crafts, cooking, highly, highly talented. And my dad, on the other hand, he's in Nigeria right now. They were together the whole time up until she passed. And they was going to retire in Nigeria. And he did. I was like, go to Nigeria then and we'll just come visit you out there because it's nice and it's warm and boom, you know. Anyway, he's more clinical. He's a scientist / engineer. He studied biochemistry. So we merge the two a lot in our work. And our work is really informed by our parents and their background and being first generation. And after she passed, we wanted to do a show to commemorate their meeting in New York and us being born from that and what that looked like and what that felt like. So it was very Caribbean, African inspired, and then it was really New York. I definitely felt like I had gotten darker, but I already have a very, how can I say, not dark disposition, but I'm already have a mystique-ness. I felt maybe a little more closed off, I think. I don't know. It wasn't something that I noticed. It was something that people that know me or that like really have loved me noticed about me. So I wouldn't say I really noticed. I felt like I was fine. But then again, I felt like the only thing that I felt was that I was picking up all these habits that I didn't really like, that I wasn't fond of. And I would say, I think that from that moment and then here now, I'm a lot more focused and a lot more disciplined in my movements, in my habits, in my consciousness. But that goes that now I'm moving out of wanting to feel numb and wanting to pay attention. Because even when I was numbing myself, I still was aware because I feel like my mental will is extremely strong. So I feel like it's just now it's a focus point, which is good for the work that I'm doing right now. I think I don't think it was anything that I noticed. I think it was some things that people that know me noticed. It was great. I had some awakenings during therapy, but I felt like I was doing most of the work. And not that I didn't like that because I do like doing a lot of my own work, but I also felt like I was instructing him on what to help me with. And I was like, wait, who's the therapist? So, ain't you getting paid for this? When the therapist I had before, I felt like she was more grounded. It wasn't like a job that she picked up. This is her actual profession. Whereas it was just something a little off, but not in, it wasn't necessarily his fault. Again, I felt like if it was probably in person, it might have been, we both probably might have gotten more out of it. I feel like I'm still grieving, honestly. I think grieving is when you lose a parent. I I say specifically your mother, but I don't know because my father's still here, so I don't even know what that feels like. But I'm saying for the mothers, they take a piece of you with them when they go. I definitely, things aren't the same at all. It's actually still, the pain isn't as deep or as fresh as it was. Like, even like talking about it now, I can talk about it without feeling overwhelmingly emotional. My mother used to write on everything, like envelopes, and then she used to shop, like she was the home shopping network queen. So she writing on numbers down at all the orders that she would do, yada, yada, yada. So we're going through it. It's like thousands of papers, like cleaning up. And I stumbled onto one specific one. And she would write ingredients on there, recipes, stuff like that. So I happened to pick it up and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, what does this say? So this is what I did. So it's a recipe for like, it might be like some muffins or something that she's making. And on one side is dry ingredients. On the other side is wet ingredients. So it was just regular. Something that she would regularly normally write, but something stood out. And then what stood out was that she had written lavish daughter's designs Le Chanteur. And I was like, wow, my mom's paying attention to us. So I took that and digitized it and then turned it into whatever I wanted. So I embroidered on everything, or everything that's like personalized for me. So like these paints that we do, we can do that too. Take someone's handwriting, digitize it, and personalize it. So that's what we did. That's, again, a gift that my mother left. Like, here's a treat. Something I wouldn't have thought to go get if she hadn't passed on. There was this picture of my mom that we loved. We used it at her service and we were just obsessed with it. So we printed a whole bunch of it. It's actually on my phone. And in the picture, I thought she looked so regal. And it's like a 3/4 portrait of her. And it's actually her getting her citizenship. It's her getting her immunization form. And when you get your immunization, you have to kind of, you technically like denounce where your nationality is. You become a U.S. citizen. And really all she has on, she was late. I think she forgot something too. And she has just on like a t-shirt. She's regular. But there was this hairstyle. Queen Latifah's on the cover of it, this old Essence magazine, and it was called, I think, the Queen braid crown. And my mom was always into the fashions, and it's braided. It's a big braid, and it looks like a crown. And she had that hairstyle in. And when I seen it, I was like, that shit is so regal. I sketched it up. I sent it to Sol. I said, like, have it, guy. Let's turn this into a brooch, a pin. So we started making them. We made them for my dad, my brothers. And then we had them in the show. And then we became obsessed. And then we was like, let's do this as a labor of love. So as we met people that we know, people in the recent, people who we've loved that's passed on, we started making brooches for people just off the strength. All you do is, you at the most pay for the actual work to get done. And then we do it. I sketch it, send it to Soul, we send it to our guy, and we turn it into this metal brooch. Boom, that's what we do. And that was something that was born out of that. So all these different things that came as gifts that my mother left for us is something that we used to cope. Who, Soul? Oh, Soul's my first roomie and also my business partner. She's like, they say that twins share one soul. So Soul and I, it's funny because, we come from a Nigerian background and there's a mythology around twins. Nigeria produces the most twins in the world. And, the backstory is that my mom's, we're the last of 6 and my mom's was finished at 4. So all my siblings are about 2 years apart. And then after my brother, we didn't come until 4 years later because my mother was like, I'm done. And she got pregnant. My father was like, let's check it out, see what it is. And they found out we were going to be twins. He was like, yeah, you have to have these kids. I was like, thanks, Dad. We chose the Nigerian. And I was like, and there's mythology, and the twins are Taiwo and Kehinde, and I'm Taiwo, and Soul is Kehinde. And our whole life, my father's like, oh, she's your bodyguard, she's older. I was born first. And the mythology is that Taiwo is born before Kehinde because Taiwo's doing a favor for Kehinde. I have to go see what the world is like. She sent me out to go see if the world was good enough for us to come into it. if it's appropriate time, and based on my cry, I will let her know the world was good enough. And that's kind of how we move and maneuver in the world. I don't think unconditional love is reserved for everyone. I think that's a joke. I think you should get unconditional love from your parents, from your kids, and not even your siblings. But Soul and I, there's a special bond. It's a little different. I think partnerships and friendships, I think they should come with terms and conditions. And they should always change and grow and evolve. That's what I think. That's what I think. And I think that even maybe like, let's say spouses, but I think that's also kind of, that can, I think there should be pushback and pullback. So it should be a little unconditional love, but it should be conditions. Because you shouldn't be walking over someone because you think that they're going to love you unconditionally. I think that's unfair. I think there should be balance. But when it comes to Soul and I, so that's why I feel like there's conditions. So that's what it represents for me. Soul is the perfect reflection of the world that we live in. So I feel like everyone's a reflection of me. Each and every one of you are different reflections. Soul is the ideal ultimate one because she's literally my twin. I remember when we were young, I was in the elevator once and I was like, damn, son, I got a whole twin. That's crazy. It's wild. Someone who actually can be a reflection of you and also hold space for you when you're like stumbling, when you're not necessarily working at your best capacity, your greatest capacity. One thing I do feel and I write that I'm thankful for is like my gifts and my talents to share, to inspire, to inform, to uplift, to transform, and to empower myself and then in turn others. Because the woman in the mirror theory, when you do for self, you do for others. A lot of people are scared to do that because they think that there's something negative about it. And you learn a lot about that from Aries energy, because Aries energy comes off like selfish or stingy, or, think about themselves first, because they're the first of the zodiac, actually. People think it's New Year's start in January, but New Year's actually starts in April. It's the true New Year's. That's when spring actually starts. So I'm like, how did New Year's start in the middle of the winter? That doesn't even make sense seasonally wise. It doesn't even make sense on a seasonal scale. Doing for self it doesn't pull away from you doing for others or being at service for others. I think a lot of people, when they really truly know how to do for selves, doing for others, it's going to be nothing. It's easy for me to give, because I don't feel like I'm taking anything away from myself, because I feel like I'm a whole being. And that's because I feel like I show up as my full self all the time. So that's why I feel like if you're not showing up as your full self all the time, of course you're stingy because you feel like you're giving pieces of yourself away. But I'm like, the work that I do, I'm constantly giving parts of myself away. But I'm a whole being that's constantly being renewed. Your cells renew you're like a whole new person literally every year. Your cells renew. Your body can actually heal itself. I've seen miracles when my mom was sick. I've seen some miraculous shit. Her name was Henrietta Lacks. I don't know if you ever heard about her. You heard about Henrietta? And she was this woman who had cancer, and I think it was cervical cancer. She ends up passing away. But the doctors, of course, Western society is crazy and psychotic. And they secretly kept her cells without telling her family and started doing tests on them and found that they were still producing. They were in that they also had healing abilities. And it was interesting that her name is Henrietta Lacks, because they found that they were using these cells to find cures for other diseases. And I'm like, how is that so on a medical level? And then they called it the healer cell. So her name, I was like, that's some spiritual shit. Her name is Henrietta Lacks, and then they broke down these cells that they found and they called it the healer cells. So I was like, oh, so I heard about it and then I seen it with my own eyes. I was like, oh, we immortal. So with that said, you're never really without, you're always full. I feel like I am what I am. I come as I am. I think that what you see is what you're going to get. There's no, the only games that I play is the games on my phone. I'm very straight to the point, very straightforward. I think very honest. I think that's my upbringing. My mom's like that. I think she was too honest at times. I used to cringe sometimes. Like, what is she about to say? You know, and I think that taking that mantle actually allowed me more space to come as I am and be that for myself, because I feel like, how else am I going to come into this world? I was super self-conscious up until I was like 18 about my arms. Like, it'd be like a 90-degree day and I'm wearing like long sleeve turtleneck because I was so self-conscious of people. I used to get stared at. I get stared at now, but now it's like, you know, I want to give you something to stare at, or, you know, it's less self-conscious in a negative way, but more self-conscious of like, oh, they might be intrigued. They might want to know what's going on, da da da. So it took me a lot to like, and I'm still becoming. And I feel like, again, I just turned 40, so I have a lot of experience. So like, I feel like I have this youthfulness about me because I'm constantly, I call myself a master student because I'm constantly wanting to learn and wanting to understand the importance of becoming. I think that I am, but I'm also becoming. It's like a flower. You know that a seed, let's say, is a watermelon. You know it's going to be a watermelon, but to watch it bloom into it is such a interesting thing. I don't think I've ever even thought about that. I've never thought about wanting to be accepted because I feel like that's kind of a joke. Oxymoron in itself, because I feel like society is built on so many different structures that you don't even know who made this shit up. So why would you even try to fit into something that is already flawed? It's flawed. So for a flawed society, I think the best way to show up is actually self. Your true self. I think sometimes a lot of us go without first. You see what I'm saying? Without means to lack, but to go within is to be whole. So again, for me, I'm going to reiterate it. If I empower myself, it's going to automatically, my outside world is going to be empowered. Everything's going to seem brighter. You know, the colors are going to be more abundant and clear. I'm going to feel more abundant. I'm going to get more of what I give out. It's going to come back to me at 3 times fold. So why not put out something that's going to help raise the vibration? If there's people already doing shit to lower the vibration, let them do that. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're here to do. The whole point is that I'm not going to be upset with that because everyone's here on their mission. And some people's mission is destruction. With all the distractions, we get pulled to the outside a lot. There's so many things going on: wars, famine, hunger, gluttony, you know, just motherfuckers who are just ignorant. It's such a distraction. I think that's on purpose because I think that's to take you off your square. So to empower yourself, to go within is very important because let's say, like, you know, the world is burning all around us, but you're not getting burned around, you know? So if you have the ability to, how can I say it? Be in this world but not of it, or to be moved but still stay diligent on your path. I think that I personally, I don't even just think, I know that it's going to bring the world back to its golden era, in a golden state. I'm not a real pessimist or an optimistic type of person. I feel like I find myself to be a realist, and the cup is always full. It's not half full, it's not half empty, because the cup has water and then there's like air or something in it. So the cup is always full. The cup is always overflowing. My cup runneth over. You know? So yeah, that's where I was at. And that's probably where I'm gonna end it with, come as you are, because that's the way that you came on this earth. So, you know, ain't no mistakes. You're perfect as you are in all your perfections. And this is a little story, but I ain't gonna get too deep into the antidote. But in the end, it's a conversation between a little angel and God. And God says, I've sent you nothing but angels. So even people who you feel may do you wrong, they're still your angels. Everybody here is a fallen angel. Everybody here comes from the heavens. So, yeah, that's it.